So this is a brief tutorial showing an approach to how to build and block a dialogue shot. And we're going to use the Morpheus rig here, which you can download for free from the 11 Second Club resources page. And one of the key questions that students always ask is how to get started and how to block out an animation. So using Morpheus, I'm going to show you how I would go about doing it. Now, in this case, we've got a line of dialogue, and the line of dialogue is this.
I can't take it anymore!
The line's taken from Aladdin. It's the parrot in Aladdin, and it's a very, very short line, which is what we want when we do our first blocking for an early dialogue shot. We want something nice and short. In this case, it's around 100 frames, or less, 60 frames long, and the dialogue is pretty punchy and gives us some clues on how to animate it. So one more time.
I can't take it anymore!
So the first thing you want to do is to drag the audio into your Maya scene file. And there's a blog post on how to do this. It's called How to Use Audio Files in Maya, and it shows you how to do it. And basically, the only files that you can use successfully in Maya are WAVs and .iff files. Most of the others will not succeed. So go ahead and read this guide, and hopefully you'll be able to get your audio file into Maya. So once you've got the audio in Maya, you want to start to think about how to block out your work. Here's a blog post about blocking and planning creature animation, which is broadly similar. And the basic process is always the same. You start by looking at the storyboards, watch the story reel or animatic, and you think about the shot. Now in this case we don't have any storyboards or reel, but you can think about the audio and try and imagine what it might sound like. Because of course with animation we start with a blank screen. All you get is Morpheus staring at you blankly on the grid, and you've got to fill in all of the blanks. So the best way to get into a shot like this is to film yourself, or perhaps somebody else, acting the shot out. You could try and find reference online, but that's not going to help you much. So it's going to be down to you to act it out. And what I recommend is that you buy yourself a tripod like this one. Here it is. I've got 2 copies of these tripods. I like them so much that I did a blog post about it. They're only £13 at Amazon.com. And the key thing about it is it takes an iPhone, or indeed a Samsung, or any phone. It's got a little kind of rubber nipple thing here which you can use to hold your phone in place. So even if you're shy about filming animation or filming yourself acting something out, you can still video yourself doing the shot. And then you can do thumbnail sketches to plan out the shot. And you can actually also import the video footage that you've used into Maya on a plane. Now I'm not going to show you that technique today because it's a bit fiddly, but I will show you a blog post which explains how to do it. So here's the post here, how to use live action reference to create great animation. And this shows you how to import a ground plane, or create an image plane and import your live action reference into Maya. And you can see how animation apprentice animator Henry Fennick used that to import some animation of a wolf, or some live action reference of a wolf, and then did that animation of the wolf walking. And he was able to get a job at Jellyfish Pictures in London by using that technique. So back to Maya. So what we want to do is film ourselves acting out the shot. And here's the reference that I filmed of myself acting the shot out. And you can see this is very poor quality footage, but it doesn't matter because all we're interested in is the basic motion. And I've done a number of takes of myself acting this line out.
I haven't started recording yet. Okay, now go. I can't take it anymore. I can't take it anymore. I can't take it anymore. I can't take it anymore.
So what I've done is I've acted it out a number of different times, trying different versions of the shot. And the one that I ended up selecting, the one that I like the most, is this one here in the middle. Not that one, but this one. So it's basically a start position where I'm starting off in a kind of start position there. Then I go up. There's a kind of anticipation and a vibrate, and so upwards, and then down with the hand, the fists kind of pumping, and then into a final position there at the end. So basically there's 4 poses. There's a start position, an anticipation up position, and then down into the accent, can't take it anymore, and then into a final settle. So it's basically 4 poses. So what I did was I then did 4 thumbnail poses based on the live action reference here, and I'll show you those now. So here are the thumbnail poses. There's a start position. Actually, I can see that I'm slightly cheating here. So I've slightly cheated here because actually what I've done in the video is I've gone up on I can't and then down on take it and then into the final pose. So I did actually make a slightly different choice in the end. So the animation that I'm going to do here is actually in the end based more on the live action than on the thumbnails, but it's still important to do the thumbnails because it helps you find the poses. And what we're looking for is 4 clear poses here, and if we can get that, then we'll be in pretty good shape. So based on the live action here, I went and did this version here. So here's my first version, and it's actually just 3 poses. It's a start pose, as an anticipation pose on I can't, then an accent on take it, and you'll see I've used a slightly different hand shape here, which I'm probably going to change. And then there'll be, I'll do another pose at the end for an ease in. And you can also see that I've imported a set here, and I think it's always important to imagine where your character is and why they're doing what they're doing, because the more specific you are about the storytelling, the more believable the final result will be. If you don't know what the character is doing and why they're reacting in the way they are, then the audience certainly won't. And in this case, I'm going for a kind of a room that's been trashed after a party. So everything's askew, the paintings are messed up, there's bottles and stuff and overturned chairs, and everything is a mess. So Morpheus says,
I can't take it anymore!
So I've got, those are my 3 basic poses for this shot. And there's a useful little visibility toggle, which I'll show you, because it's slightly annoying with Morpheus. You keep having to, if you want to see him properly, you keep having to turn off and on the control curves. But I'll show you a nice little visibility tool, again at the blog, which you can use to toggle those curves on and off really super fast. And here it is. It's at the blog post, 10th of June 2016. And all you have to do is grab this little bit of code here. It's really handy because that's literally all you have to do. It's a little Mel script. Copy it, then go back to Maya, punch it into your script editor, and there it is. And then I'll go and drag that up there, pop it in the shelf. If I go to the shelf editor, I can give that, I just call that Viz. Save all shelves, and now I've got a little script that will turn that off and on whenever I want it. Really super useful. So once I've done that, I'm going to go ahead and activate the tween machine, which is this tool here. And the tween machine is incredibly useful for breaking your shots down into chunks. Another thing I want to do is create a layer. So under the layer editor, you can create an empty layer, and I can put the set in there. So the whole set goes in there. So if I ever want to select my control curves, I don't want to be selecting the set. So I probably ought to turn off select surface objects, but I can also just turn the whole set off like that. And that way, when I want to select everything, I know I'm just selecting the character. And what I'm going to do, what I always do, is use the tween machine to break these poses down so that I can favor one pose or another. And there's a blog post on how to use the tween machine, or how to download it, which I'll show you now. So you can see it here. The tween machine's been around for a while. This is a blog post from 2014. What is the tween machine? This shows you how to download it, how to install it, and what it's for. And it's an incredibly good way of breaking your shot down into chunks. So here, so what I want to do is probably use the tween machine to favor my up pose. So let's say that's just 10. So let's go to 109, and I can take that, take the tween machine, and now I've got the breakdown pose is favoring the up position.
I can't take.
So now I've got a breakdown at frame 109, which is favoring the up position. So then I can go to 105. Let's say I want to favor the start position. And then 113, let's say I want to favor the top position. And now I've got my shot on 4s.
I can't take.
With hardly any effort at all. So the tween machine, incredibly powerful way of creating breakdowns between poses. So without going through this whole rigmarole, I'll show you what my next stage in the shot was. So actually here's a version where I've still got the 3 basic poses, but what I have done here is add a little bit of a camera move. So I started wider on the camera so that you could see the whole scene, and then just pushed it
I can't take it anymore.
a bit closer on Morpheus so we can see his expressions better at the end, but still staying wide at the start. We could even go a little wider, and I could probably have more debris and more crap around the place. Really mess it up a bit so that we really feel that that Morpheus is in a bad mood and this has been a really, really bad day. You don't want the audience to be guessing about why the character is angry. So let's go to the next version. So here's a version with some lip sync in it. Basic lip sync. This version is basically on 4s, I believe. Yeah, more or less on 4s, which is to say roughly 1 keyframe every 4 frames.
I can't take it anymore. I can't take it anymore. I can't take it anymore.
And then I'll show you the final version of the blocking before spline. So here's a version with a camera move and a little bit more breakdowns in the animation.
I can't take it anymore. I can't take it anymore. I can't take it anymore.
And if you go and look at the original live action, you'll find that the two are pretty similar. There's probably a little bit more kind of hands pumping up and down in my version, but they're not a million miles away.
More. I can't take it anymore.
And I can now take this final version. Let's turn off the set and turn off select surface objects and grab all of these curves, and I want to make sure that I've keyframed the end of the shot. I'm starting at frame 39. My last frame is 100. So what I'll do is take this and move it up into the end, because you always keyframe the start at the end of the shot and the end of the shot, and then I can basically spline it at this point and start to refine it. Now once I've splined it, I'm going to get a lot of yucky smushy stuff.
I can't take it anymore. I can't take it.
And I've lost that kind of nice snappy sense of the timing, so I know I'm going to have to exaggerate a lot of this, particularly the hand motion is going to have to be a lot more exaggerated.
Anymore. I can't take it anymore. I can't take.
And some of the hand motion feels a bit mechanical, and there's quite a bit to fix in here. But basically I know that overall the shot's going to be fine. And the important takeaway from this video is to show you how to use live action reference in order to, and also thumbnails, in order to block out and build a shot. The tween machine is your friend, but ultimately if you can get some live action reference that really works for you, and this only works if you try out multiple different versions of the shot, then you're well on your way to getting a result that you can be happy of and proud of, and one that you can rely on to get your shots approved by Friday afternoon, which is what working in the industry is all about.